Bum 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 bum. Just chat with Uncle Dominic.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Just Chat with Uncle Dominic. Today we have a special guest, Jeff Gamwell. Let's give him a good welcome.
Hey
All right.
everybody,
Hello, Jeff. How have you been today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. It's been a great day so far. Um, no rain, so all sunshine. So it's been really good in Taiwan. How's the weather in America right now?
Well, last night we had a tumultuous thunderstorm that lasted for about 6 hours, and we have some flooding in metropolitan
Oh
Atlanta
no!
just from last night's rain.
Wow. Is that from
It's
the
been a
coming
very wet
typhoon or
summer.
anything?
No, we had some aftermath from Ida.
Ah.
And then, well, I guess the new storm has kind of pushed the front over here, and it just poured.
Anyone going out for a swim or anything like that?
Not yet, not yet. My area's not flooded, so I'm very fortunate. But some of the areas around Atlanta are flooded.
I used to live in Hawaii a long time ago, probably about more than 15 years ago. I remember we had
Okay.
a big flood in our area, and people just bring out the canoe and just go boom, and I was like, what? When usually during the floods, people don't go out, and but yeah, it's kind of different in Hawaii. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been a rainy year for us so far.
Well, is that a good thing or a
Uh,
bad thing?
it's in Atlanta's really kind of funny. It seems to stay balanced. When we get a lot of rain, then it gets very dry for a long period of time. One of the major lakes here at one year was down 19 feet. They said it would take 10 years for it to fill up, and by the next year, it was back to normal. So
Okay.
um, it's a unique balance because Atlanta is pretty far inland,
All right.
but we are on the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains.
Well, that is good
So
as
a
well
lot of,
because you mentioned balance, right? Everything in life needs
yeah,
balance.
gotta have that balance.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's get on to our topic today. For our viewers out there, our topic today is experiences in life can make us a better person. Okay. One more time, experiences in life can make us a better person. So I'm gonna start us up with this quote. And again, if you like this video or like us, please subscribe and follow us. Yeah, for more topics to come. Okay. So here's the quote. And I put it up here. I'll read it out so Jeff can hear. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Okay, one more time. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. It is by Soren Kierkegaard. Okay, so what do you think about this quote, Jeff?
Well, I think you only can understand it backwards after you've experienced life, and sometimes you have an inexplicable expectation of what life should be, and when life doesn't happen that way, you have to look backwards and kind of say, what happened, why did it happen, and how did it affect me?
So it's kind of like a reflection, right?
Yeah, it is a reflection because there's a great saying: hindsight is 2020.
Uh huh.
But your forward sight is you can't predict the future. You can only review the past.
Right.
So you have to look forward based on the experiences that you've had in the past.
Well, speaking
And
about experiences in the past, I'm only 40 years old, so I've experienced 40 years of life. I think you have experienced way more than I have, right?
well, yeah, I traveled a lot. My parents were we lived internationally. I was actually born in Caracas, Venezuela, and
Whoa.
uh, moved about every 4 years. My dad worked for a company called AIG, American International Group Insurance,
Yep.
big multinational company, and got to experience, like you, different cultures. And I think it's been one of the beneficial things. It was not good when I was doing it. As we look backwards, we moved about every 4 years, so you make friends, and then all of a sudden you move. The good news is that it helped build my family unit. I'm the youngest of five, three older brothers and a sister, and we grew very, very close simply because we kind of had to count on one another,
Well, that's
and
good to be
that was a really good thing.
closer family unit. Actually, makes a longer bond, right? So you can have, I don't know, healthier lifestyle. Like if you're into trouble, your family could help you. Does that actually happen?
It's yeah, it's really kind of an interesting thing because none of us really live close to one another. My mom is still alive. She's 97 years young,
Wow.
and she lives in South Miami, and my brother lives in Key Biscayne, which is not far from South Miami. And then I have a brother in Houston, a brother in Denver, and a sister in Charleston, South Carolina. So we're spread out all over the place, and through the adversity that I've had in my life, they are the people that I know had my back.
Oh, that's
And
good.
there's something about knowing that someone's got your back that helps you get through the adversities in your life. And adversities kind of shape your life. And some people go through adversity, whether they get divorced, they lose a job. Um, some people lose their house, they declare bankruptcy. Um, they could even get struck by lightning. They could have health issues. I had all those things happen to me within 1 year.
1 year.
1 year, and my take on that was I was putting so many things in front of God. And when I did that, God said, "Okay, we're going to move those things out of the way. So it's going to be you and me, and we're going to have a one-on-one." And unfortunately, what happened is one very fateful night, I woke up, had to go to use the restroom, and I really couldn't focus. And I thought, well, it's just the sleepiness in my eyes, and it's early in the morning. And went back to sleep, and I woke up at like 6:30, and I could not see. I could make out images, but I couldn't really see. I couldn't focus, and it scared the daylights out of me. So I called my daughter to come take me. I just finished getting divorced from my wife of 32 years, and told her that what had happened, and I evidently scared the daylights out of her. So my ex-wife came and picked me up and took me to my doctor. And we went in, and he started telling me all the things that was happening to me. My triglycerides was 6,000. Normally it's 200. My blood sugar was 536. My blood pressure was 236 over 120. And basically he said, "Jeff, you've had a stroke." And I'm just going, "I've had a stroke. I don't understand that. I feel fine, sort of, but I can't see." So he started to explain to me what happens when you have a stroke. And the left side of my head, I had a blood clot that had caused me to have a stroke. And he explained the chances of having another stroke were extremely high, and I could have another blood clot, and it could go to my lungs, or it could go to my heart, or go to my brain, and it could kill me. So I'm sitting there listening to him, and basically I'm hearing, "You should be dead, and if you're not dead now, you're going to be dead very, very soon." So I went, got back home, and he gave me some prescriptions, and I laid down on my sofa, and I begged God to take me. I said, "God, I can't deal with this. I've lost my house. I've lost my wife. My kids and my wife moved out. My dad passed away. I got struck by lightning. All these things happened, and I just said, I can't take anymore. I've had enough." And I begged him. I said, "Take my life." And in his great wisdom, I sat there and played the pity party for about 4 or 5 hours. And then I hear in my head, "Why don't you ask me to save you?" And I'm sort of a sarcastic smart aleck, even with God. And I said, "But I'm already saved." And I heard it again. "Why don't you ask me to save you?" And what God was telling me is that I want a personal relationship with you. I want you and I to have a personal relationship. Now, my whole life, I've been faithful. I felt like I was saved, but I felt like God knows who I am, but he's so busy dealing with all sorts of worldly issues, famine and floods and earthquakes and everything that the world offers, that, what does he care about a poor little schmuck like me? And what I came to find out is he wanted a very personal relationship with me. And it was very humbling because I know what I've done in my life. I tried to live the American dream. My dad was very successful, worked for the same company for 55 years. And the inference in my growing up is you go and you go forth and succeed. You work really hard. You put together the effort, and you'll climb the corporate ladder, and you'll be successful. You get the corner office and the expense account, and you'll make money, and life will be great. Well, for me, I did that, but life wasn't great, and my marriage started to fall apart, and I just never felt so alone in my life, even though I lived in a house with five people and 2 dogs. And all of a sudden, the dominoes in my life just started to fall away. And I thought, this is what's going on. The American dream says I do all this stuff and I'm going to be happy and satisfied. And I was very unhappy and not very satisfied. And it changed my life when he said, why don't you ask me to save you? Because I believe that I'm already saved. And I didn't put on the fullness of God in my life. And if there's anything I wish I had when I was younger, is that when I do believe I got saved initially, that there was someone there to guide me and someone there to help me walk through what that meant. Because most of the people I deal with, they're saved, but they don't really understand what it is to be saved and what it does to you. For me, I got a new heart. I got a new mind. The doctor told me that this was fixable, and in 3 weeks after my stroke, my triglycerides were normal. And he goes, "Wait, we must have done a good job with the medicine." And I said, "No, you didn't do anything with the medicine. The only thing that stayed high was my blood sugar, and that's when I became a diabetic." But I am so thankful and grateful. I mean, God was pounding a message into my head, and I was very stubborn about listening to it. My dad passed away on March 7th, which was my twin's birthday. I got struck by lightning on July 15th. Here in Atlanta, we get flash storms that come in the afternoon. Rain clouds come, and I was out cooking some hamburgers, and the grill is attached to the ground, and I went to close the grill, and a bolt of lightning hit in the ground, went through the grill, and just blew me off my feet.
Oh.
But I didn't drop the hamburgers. They were still good. They were still good to go. And I went inside and I asked my son, "Do I have smoke coming out of my head?" And he looked at me. He was about 13, and you know how 13-year-olds kind of look at you like, "Dad, you're crazy." And I said, "No, I just got struck by lightning." And he goes, "Yeah, no, you didn't." But God was sending me a message that I needed to change. And I just was like, well, I'm just going to keep going to status quo. And then I had a stroke, and God moved all these things I put in front of him in where I focused my attention, and he moved them all to the side and said, "It's time for you and I to have a one-on-one." And, you've heard the expression, I had the come to Jesus meeting with God, and felt like I was sitting in the middle of a room and with a spotlight on me, and he was talking directly to me. And it changed my life. It changed the way I look at things. It changed that what is really important in my life. And I'm the youngest of 5. We traveled a lot. We moved a lot. And I became very, very close to my family. And what I can find in all of this is relationships. Relationships are the most important thing. God created man not because he needed us, but he wanted a relationship. So what do we do? What is the focus? The world today is they're trying to split up the family. And we have to focus on the family because that's the foundation of everything that we do and everything that we are. And one of the things that I struggled with through most of my life, through careers, and you talk about working, and you go to a job and you kind of seek that affirmation from your boss or from the company, whether it's monetary or a pat on the back or whatever. And I grew up, and my dad was a very tough guy to live with, and I never felt like I was good enough. And he basically said, "You did well, but," and it was that "but" that all I heard. And so for a long, long time in my life, I just felt like I was good, but I just was never quite good enough. I never really quite measured up. And one of the things through all of this that happened to me is I found my true identity. And people go, "Well, was it your job? Was it your family? What is your true identity?" And I said, my true identity is the way God looks at me, not the way that Uncle Dominic looks at me, not the way that my kids look at me, not even the way that my dog looks at me, even though he gives me unconditional love. It's what God looks at me, and God doesn't see all the imperfections that I've had happen in my life and all the terrible things that I've done. He looks at me like I'm his son, and I am. And when I finally realized that in his mind, when I accepted him as my Lord and Savior, I became complete. And, you've seen the movie with Jerry Maguire,
You
where
complete me.
you complete me. Well, God completes me because the way he looks at me, even though I have warts and mistakes and I've done some things that I consider to be very, very bad, he still looks at me and goes, you're my son, and I'm proud of who you are because I created you for my purpose. And that's just changed my whole outlook on life. And as I get older and I'm, sort of at that retirement age, you start becoming very reflective of what you've done. Well, that doesn't work because what it does is it sits there and, like most people, what do you remember? Do you remember all the good times, or do you remember the bad times, or do you, a mixture of both? And I think that the hard part for people is we tend to focus on our mistakes. I should have, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and life makes you who you are through based on that expression. Your experiences create you. So your filter in viewing life comes from all the experiences that you've had in your life, and that which makes you unique, because you're unique, and what are you? You're a son, you're a friend, you're a husband, and you're a dad. What more important role can you live than being a husband and a dad? But we minimize that. It's like, oh yeah, well, anybody can do that. And it's not true. Not anybody can do that. I mean, becoming a father is easy. Being a real father is hard work. And because you've got kids, that it takes a lot of work. And it is very challenging at times.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes these wonderful things that you've created with God's help really give you they push your buttons, and they make you feel sad and hurt. And I'm fortunate because my kids are a little bit older than yours, and it comes to a point where they start realizing that you're actually smarter than they expected you to be, and all the things that you've said to them start making sense when they become young adults. And that's a sort of a 360 view of what I'm talking about. And I had adversity, and I continue to have adversity. There's, since I declared my second stage of my relationship with God, I got an infection in my foot where they actually had to take out part of my big toe bone and the long tarsal bone. And I went for almost 4 years having 8 surgeries and trying to figure out how to save my foot. And my goal was, God, I came into this world with 10 toes. I want to go out with 10 toes. And, I kept getting, we're going to need to cut off your toe. We're going to need to cut off part of your foot. We're going to need to cut off part of your leg. I got sepsis. I don't know if you're familiar with what sepsis is, but it's one of those things that can kill you because it's part of an infection that gets into your bloodstream. And when it gets into your bloodstream, if it gets to your heart and gets to your lungs or your brain, just like a blood clot, it'll kill you. So I went through that, and it was great adversity. And the only thing that really got me through it was talking with God and saying, God, please save my foot. I believe you're going to save my foot, but I still had to go through the journey. And the journey was very, very hard because I wore basically a surgical shoe for 3 years. And, if you've ever been in the hospital, it's not a fun place to be.
No, definitely.
And in one of my visits, I got reinfected with MRSA in my foot. And I was taking IV antibiotics every day for 2 hours a day. But I never lost hope. And that's the best thing about this is I have hope because I know that who has my back besides my family is God has my back. He will never, ever, ever fail me. He won't let me down. He will give me what I need, not what I want. Sometimes that's discouraging. And he doesn't give it to me on my timetable, which is also very hard in this world, especially, is we want everything to be instantaneous and we want immediate gratification. And God still tests me. I'm not perfect and I still make my fair share of mistakes, but I believe every morning that when I recommit myself to him, that I'm going to be good. I'm going to be okay. I'm still going to have troubles because as I'm writing a book called Your Best Thinking Got You Here, and how's that working for you? Well, my best thinking got me where I was, and it didn't work for me. And it got me in more trouble. The more I think I got things in control, the more I have problems and issues because my best thinking is not necessarily good for me.
Well, Jeff, I'm listening to all your experiences. It's hard to say you had a wonderful experience, but I'm just gonna say that these experiences that you had actually, it does make you who you are right now. From the way I look at you right now, I think you are a great person. You have gone past the adversity, the bad stuff, and from my point of view, you are a different person now from what you have told me. And so I do want to clarify a little bit thing for the audience out there. You said everything happened in a year. Was that very recent or was it a while ago?
It was about 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay. All right.
And that was when I had my stroke and I lost my job. I went in to file for short-term disability and I got fired. And I'm sitting there going, God, everybody's piling on. I can't take this piling on. But I got 12 weeks severance pay, and it basically said, okay, God's working out a way for me to go take care of myself. I lost 65 pounds, going to the gym every other day and trying to eat well. And, of course, living on a very limited budget so that I didn't know what I was going to do next. But I think the hard part is I don't know what to expect next, but all I know is that I could get through anything, any adversity that I've had. And like I said, that experience changed my life, and I've had other adversities. Trying to find a job after I had that was very difficult. And when you're in your 50s, all of a sudden you're old in some people's eyes. And then you go to an interview, a job, and somebody is much younger than you are, and you threaten them simply by the fact that you have a lot of experience. And I'm like, I just need a job. I'm not trying to come in and build this big career anymore. I just need a job so I can put food on my table and support my family. And that's the thing that changed is I had nice cars. I had a big house, um, went on great vacations, and all that stuff. It just was stuff, and it didn't hold any true meaning. That the real meaning was my family and my kids, and unfortunately, my wife and I got divorced, and I still regret it to this day. But she got fed up with me, and it took a while for me to rebuild. I basically lost my kids. They moved out. I was the head chauffeur, no longer the chief cook and bottle washer. And I didn't see them, especially my younger two, because my oldest had gone off to college. And it pained me like you wouldn't believe, because that was my life. And then once they got their license, which you soon will experience, all of a sudden their dependence on you changes. That I don't physically need your dependence. I need your support to let me do the things that I want to do. And for me, that was very difficult, because in my life, I had never lived alone until I was 55, ever. And I always said, live with somebody. And I can't tell you how hard it was to come home after working and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I got the family dog, and that was my saving grace. Lexi was my best bud for 16 years.
16 years.
And
Wow.
16 years, and you just sit and go, there's more to the world, there's more to life than going and making a living. I mean, and when you have been surrounded by people for your whole life, and then you go to no one. I mean, as soon as I walked in the house, I turned on the TV, so there was some noise, because having 3 kids, as you know, the house is never quiet unless they're asleep. And that was very painful, very, very painful, because one of the things I wanted to do was be a better dad than my dad was. My dad was very married to his work, and being the youngest of 5, I didn't get to share the great times that my brothers and sisters did with my dad, because he got married to his job. And I just wanted to be there for my kids. And then we got divorced. I couldn't be there all the time. And that hurt. That was I mean, all the other stuff I've been through, that was probably the most painful. Because like God created us to be in his relationship, my kids are my life.
I wouldn't say I understand your feeling. It's very difficult because of the things that you have experienced, but because it happened 8-9 years ago, and looking at you right now, it has built you to be a stronger person. And I do know people out there in the world, like things that they had experienced similar to yours, they have already given up on their lives, and basically say, "Oh, this bad things happen. I'm just giving up. I'm, kill themselves, suicide, or go into drugs and do any bad things at all." I mean, even the younger generations now, you can see them, like in Taiwan, especially where I'm living at right now. Because I'm an educator, I'm a teacher. I'm always telling my students, if you fail your tests, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I will help you to educate you, or to help you try to pass your test. Or there's more things to life than just tests. I mean, if you fail in one thing, there's more. But I've seen students who, because of this, they decided to take their lives, or go for the worst things. And I felt like what you experienced actually showed everyone right now, those who are viewing it, that it can work. I mean, you experience bad things, you get up from whatever that happens, and then you make yourself to be a better. But I'm sure that there's going to be regrets and stuff. Like, I had my dad passed away not too long ago. It was one of the biggest regret that I had. Not the same as yours, but in some ways that has made me a different person. And during that time when it happened, I would say I was totally broken. I felt like like, yeah, this is the end for me or whatever. And it did feel like that, and it took me a couple, maybe a few 4 or 5 months, maybe almost a year. I think it was almost a year, try to get back up slowly. I mean, right now I still think about it and I still regret it, the things that I could have done. But in the one case, I shouldn't dwell on it. I should keep moving forward. And listening to your experiences, you remind me of a character in the Bible, Job, right? He had everything taken from him: his family, his house, his career, everything. I mean, I think almost his life was, because it was fire. It wasn't lightning; it was fire, right? And so, eventually he got back up on his feet, and then he was blessed by God, because, like you said, you are blessed by God right now. Of course, you still get trials. I think everyone get trials. We get trials on any kind of things, right? It just, I think all these things that happen, like you said, can shape us somehow. I mean, we just have to think in a positive way. Like, if something bad happened today, my teacher doesn't like me, my homework's not doing too good, I mean, I lost my car, the car accident today, all these days, there's always a good thing somewhere, and we just have to find it. Maybe it takes a couple of years, right? Like right now for you, it's been like 9 years, and you've seen all the things that have happened. I mean, if it happens to me right now, I won't be able to see anything in the back. And then people will be like, "Oh no, what do I do?" And so,
Well, you get stuck in the moment.
yeah,
and
that's the
and
moment
it's
thing,
hard
right?
because we have emotions, we have feelings, and you sit and go, why? The big question: why is this happening to me? Why is this happening? Why did my dad die? What how do I deal with this, Dominic? And that's the thing, is that's life. And do I grow from my adversity? Well, in hindsight, I can sit and say absolutely. At the time, it's devastating.
Difficult, yeah.
And you sit there and go, I don't know if I can take the next step. I don't know if I can get out of bed. I don't know if I can go to work. I don't know if I can, you're a teacher and you sit there and you have this hole in your heart from your dad passing, and you have to go in and inspire kids to teach.
That's
And
exactly
you,
what happens. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, oh, I'm moody, and it's difficult, and I get people telling me, time is the cure. After time, you'll get cured. Everything will pass. Everything be fine. But in my mind at that time, I feel like you don't really understand what's going on. How can you be telling me, And it's like a pride telling that I know things better because I've experienced it. But right now, I felt like it's true. Time can heal, but in the same case, I need to think, calm myself down and think. It happens. Everyone's gonna pass in this life, and it's just how we handle it and how we see it. From right now, I take it as an experience that what my dad has shown me before in his life, and all the things that he has done, or I can learn that I should do it or should do it, and it makes me a better person, right? So to our viewers out there, and it is true. I mean, we are all going to experience bad things. Definitely, it's gonna happen. If it hasn't happened to you yet, I mean, I would say you are pretty lucky. But at the same time, with what you just heard from Jeff, it's an experience that you probably don't want to experience it. But if you do experience it, then we want to see the good side out of it. I mean, there's one good part of the lightning strike from Jeff. His hamburger still works, right? It's not it's cooked, so it's ready to eat. So that's one good side about it. But there's a lot of bad things out there. We just have to see the good things. I mean, I think that's it. It's difficult, but it's there. We just have to dig it out, right, Jeff? What do you think?
well, you have to realize, here's the thing that I've taken away from this, is that no matter who you are, and if some people have more adversity than other people, and I have to look at it that God says you can handle it. You talked about Job. Why did Job go through all that? Because God said he's my faithful servant. He's one of my best faithful people on earth. And the adversity that you go through, all the things that I've gone through, I would not wish on anybody. Even my worst enemy, I wouldn't wish it on them. But I am so thankful that I went through all that, because it made me who I am today. You have a choice, and this is a tough part. Do I get bitter or do I get better?
I like
And
that.
we all know people that get very, very bitter, and we have our moments. I have mine. I'm sure you have yours. And you sit there and go, "Woe is me! You know, my life stinks. Nothing's working. I failed my test. You know, my dad put me in timeout because I was a bad kid." And then you sit there and go, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Now, it's not the next oncoming train. It's in my mind, it's Jesus Christ lighting the path for me to travel. And if I'm smart enough, and this is the key, because I fight myself, if I'm smart enough to follow that path, then I will be able to handle anything that life throws at me. And because I've had these experiences, and they were very hard and very dramatic and very encompassing, to where I did, as we talked earlier, I did have thoughts of saying, I can't go on. I just, this is just too hard. And the reality of it is, it's going to be hard, but getting through it shows you who you are, and kind of gives you, we have an expression here, you know, show me your metal. What is your metal? And it's like, what are you made of? And for me, being made of as God's son changed everything for me, because I now understand what my true identity in the world is, as being God's son, and what I have around me. In the Bible, in Colossians, Paul says, Jesus says, actually, I am in the Father, and the Father is in me, and I am in you, and you are in me. So if you sit and take for a moment and think, I'm in the middle between God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, who could have me in better hands? And that no matter what, if I fall forward, I fall backwards, I fall sideways, that I'm going to be caught. And that I have that sense that even if I do fail, I'm still going to have that going for me. And if I have that going for me, then who can beat me? Now, the problem is, we tend to, as you talked about, we beat ourselves.
We do.
And we sit and get, as my mom says, we get that stinking thinking. And we start looking at ourselves and analyzing ourselves and saying, well, but you did this, and you acted like this, and you talked back, and you didn't handle this, and you made this choice, and you made this bad choice. If I focus on all of that, I can't move forward. I get stuck. And when I get stuck, I become less productive, and it just continues to build up in me, to eventually where I don't believe in anything. And, you know, as a teacher, and, you know, I'm sort of a teacher in what I'm doing. As a student, you have to believe in yourself. I just found that I believe in God, and God makes me think better of myself. And we're a wonderful creation. You're a father. I don't know if you were fortunate enough to be in the delivery room and watch your children be born.
I am.
It happens every second of the day. When my first child was born, I was going, this is a miracle. This is just unbelievable. I was the first person that my daughter saw. And you sit and go, this happens every day. Everybody just kind of writes it off, yada, yada. It is a miracle, because you think about how we're born and how we developed and what our body can do and what our mind and all the things that we're capable of doing. And you just go, you're an amazing creation. The best line I can give you, and maybe you can use this if you can in your school.
Okay.
My mom says this: God does not make junk. God does not. God makes you, and when you follow him and believe him and bring him into your heart, you are complete, and you're complete in a good sense. and you have everything that you need to move forward if you follow and believe in him. And it's just like, what is God but a good teacher? And what is the definition of a rabbi? Is teacher. So that's what all the disciples called him. And we need to be there for one another to help teach them that you've had adversity. When your dad died, did other people talk to you about what they experienced going through, when one of their parents died?
Mm-hmm.
You need that support because they understand. And that's really, I think, where our interaction with people helps, is we can mentor them through our situation. So all that I've been through, divorce is unfortunately too commonplace. I can talk to you about being divorced. I can talk to you about the heartaches and the pains and the financial woes and the ups and downs. I can talk to you about health issues. I can talk to you about financial issues. But God uses my experience for me to go out and help guide people through their experiences, good, bad, or indifferent. And that's really where I'm trying to come from, because I'm not saying I'm special. I just know that I've been through an awful lot in a very short period, 65 years. But I have a number of things that I've gone through in my life. And I had a dream once that showed me all these different little episodes in my life that were adverse, even to back when I was 5 years old, and I fell into some cement steps from 10 feet, split my head open.
Oh.
God said, I was with you then. And we can ask the question, well, why didn't you keep that from happening to me? And he goes, because you needed to know. You needed that experience to make you better. I fell and I woke up in the hospital, and what was the first thing I asked? Mom, when's dinner? I'm hungry. Like nothing had happened. And what does that show? What does that show my parents? What does that show me in my reflection? Is that God got me through things. I mean, literally, I can say I should be dead. I should have died a couple of times. Very, very definitely. But God had a plan for me. And like students, you sit and go, God has a plan for me. So you said it earlier. If you don't pass this test, what do you learn from it? How do you move forward from this? Did you not pass the test because you didn't study, or did you not pass the test because you didn't understand? And if you don't understand, then I need to go to Uncle Dominic for him to help me understand.
Extra lessons.
Extra lessons. Well, but it's and it's hard to ask for help.
It's true, because most of us are not too humble enough, and we're scared. We're scared to show people our weaknesses, and that's why. But I think I want to put this out there before you go on in the scripture. 1 Peter, I think, chapter 5, verse 7. It says, "Cast all anxiety on him, because he cares for us." So we're like you did. You put all your faith and hope in Christ and God, and it has helped you to be who you are. And I'm not saying this to convert all my viewers out there to Christianity, but I'm saying we all should put some kind of faith somewhere, and then not in the wrong place, not in the wrong things, and find it for yourself what is there. I mean, Jeff found his goal, he found his God, he found his faith. It has helped him. I mean, for all of us out there, if we are all still searching for something, we better find it. Have to try to look for it, and then I think it would be better that way. That way we can overcome a lot of things. Jeff, we're actually almost up on time, but I do want to put out the questions that some of the viewers had asked earlier. Okay. So, but you have already answered all of them. So I'm just gonna put the questions out there, so viewers out there will know that their questions are out there. Okay. So the first question is, if my experiences are really bad, I will get angry. I don't think I will be a better person. So this is like a comment, but still, you have mentioned it, bitter or better, right? And there's another one. I feel like I don't have a choice of direction in my life. And so in this case, you also answered that. I think we all have a choice. We have, of course, sometimes we'll get hit by bad things and then we decided to turn around. But even before that, we can already turn around. We can turn our life around. And you mentioned earlier today, it's never too late to do something, to change our life, right? And the last question here, you mentioned your life story is a compelling cliffhanger with a great twist and turn. Is that good or bad? So we have listened to Jeff's story. I mean, there's a lot of bad in there, but he managed to turn it around, and now he is where he is after 8 to 9 years. I mean, he has done it, and if he can do it, I think all of us can as well, right? So those are the questions that has been asked. Yeah, Jeff, thank you so much for coming to the show. Thank you for your time. It has been a great experience to be able to listen to your story, and hopefully our viewers out there can gain something more out of it. Did you have anything to say for to the viewers out there?
Thank you for the opportunity to share my story. And I will say one thing for everybody out there. Your story matters. What I've been through, although, at times very, very difficult, it's made me a better person. And it's made me say, I have said woe is me. I still say woe is me at times. But I have to sit and say that God got me through the worst part of my life, that he can get me through anything else. And so hope is a strategy, because if you have hope in your higher power, which is in my mind Jesus Christ and God and the Holy Spirit, that he will guide me and lead me through anything that it comes across my doorway. And no matter what, no matter how awful it gets, I still have hope. And that's the biggest thing that I can offer to anybody is there's always hope. Don't ever give up. Don't ever go back and say I can't go forward. I made that mistake. I asked God to take me, but guess what? He said, I got bigger things for you to do. I got better things for you to do. But you need to learn from here so you can take it and go forward.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much.
No problem. Someone just commented. It says from Pendy G. He says he or she says a man is a product of his circumstances. Okay, so I want to respond to this. I mean, yeah, of course we make mistakes. We do a lot of things. All our actions have circumstances, and everything we do. But I feel like there's always, like Jeff mentioned, there's always hope out there. There's always something out there. We shouldn't give up, even though it's hurting or painful. I mean, there's always ways to overcome things, and then in a few years' time, things will be better. There is a saying that God will close one door, but He will open the other door. So we just have to find the other door as well. Okay. Well, thank you, Jeff, again. Thank you for all viewers out there. Please like and subscribe to this video and follow us for more topics in the future. Have a good night, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.